Hey guys, welcome to the Trinity Force Podcast, episode 507, coming into your ears. We're happy to have you here and happy for you all listening. Thank you so much for subscribing to us on Patreon, by the way. We've seen an uptick in the number of patrons, and I hope you're all enjoying the Meta Podcast. A new one will be coming out in, I think, about a week. They're waiting for the latest patch to hit before they jump in there, Beaver and Vrail and friends, before they start talking about the next set of meta and what's going to be going on with this month. A Lucian podcast will be coming out to you on Patreon as well. And speaking of
what a time to play Lucian.
Oh, I know. Oh, yeah. 45% win rate. Like, great champions. Like podcast, huh?
I don't know. I feel like those could be really interesting because, you know, these are the players who are dedicated to it. It's really easy to play a champion when they're good, you know, but playing Lucian right now and just still being dedicated to that champion, like that says something about you, and just the how, you know, type of player that you are and everything. So you're going to learn a lot about the champion.
Yeah.
You learn a lot.
Vouch for that personally.
Yeah, through the Xayah and the Lucian one, you learn a lot about how to use bottom lane. And speaking of bottom lane, that's what we're talking about this evening. Hey. Well, more specifically, Marksman. And we've done support before. I'm actually going to try to link all the episodes in the description of this and on Reddit. We've done top lane, jungle, support, and now we're going to do Marksman, and now that we have Vrail, we can also do mid lane as well, and that'll be coming in the next, I'd say probably the next month or so. We'll try to force that one out. I think the next couple podcasts are Wednesday's patch notes. What's Monday? Is Monday Skyin, and then Wednesday is bitching about top lane.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. Todd's got some strong feelings about top lane right now, and then humorously, Punch also has kind of opposing strong feelings about top lane right now. So I'm really excited for that show. I don't know who else is going to be able to make it because that's a Valentine's Day show. So I know some folks have things going on. Adam, you know, will be working, but so we'll see what happens. But I'm excited for that show.
Yes, I will be. I won't be working this week,
super fun show.
You know, speaking of that episode, my lovely wife, who I'm trying to pull into the camera, who she doesn't want to come in, say hi, wife. Say hi to everybody. Say hi. Hello. No, say hi. Actually, say hi. It's a podcast. People need to hear your voice. Hi. They could hardly hear you there. That was probably the most faint. She might actually join us for a podcast here because we have art. We have art stuff to talk about, and I need to show her that. I'm meaning to talk to you about that. So, grats. This is the first you get to hear of it. How does it make you feel?
I'm in the middle of class.
I don't know if you heard that, but she went to the middle class. All right, this is terrible podcasting. We're going to move right forward. I got a weekly challenge for y'all. The weekly challenge is, if you didn't know, control wards prevent vision. Like, they control the area. So if you drop a control ward down and there's 14 wards in that one area, all 14 of those wards, enemy wards, are disabled. So my weekly challenge this week is, while taking an objective, drop a control ward and abstain from hitting any enemy wards while that control ward is down. Alternatively, if a control ward is already in place, do not hit any enemy wards.
Now, if you have dropped a control ward and then you start attacking a ward, I believe they get vision of you while you're attacking it.
Yes.
And so they're like, I understand why everybody wants to attack a ward. You know, first off, you think, oh, hey, we can see this ward. We should deny them that vision and everything. And it's not the most intuitive to really think, oh, that ward's disabled, I don't need to do anything else about it. And then additionally, you know, everybody wants gold. And so, you know, whether it's 10 gold, 30 gold, whatever it ends up being for the ward that you end up killing, you know, it's hard to deny that impulse to just kill the ward when it's there. But particularly when you're doing objectives, killing that ward is not always the best thing, because first off, you're giving them vision of you, even for a brief moment. And second, those are auto attacks, you know, that you're spending on a ward instead of the dragon or the baron or whatever it else is, you know, that you might be doing. And those little things can make a big difference.
There you go. That's good. All good reasons not to hit the ward. So that's your weekly challenge. Stop hitting wards when the control ward is down, and let me know how it goes. If you didn't know that little tidbit, then this weekly challenge has doubled up for you, as you've learned something new, and you have something to do this week while you're playing ranked. So that is that. So I almost said don't forget, like I was transitioning to something else. I guess we're going to move into our main topic this evening. We've been receiving a lot of ADC specific listener questions recently. The hell, there's 4 in this document right now that we're going to try to hit this evening. But I thought it would be a good time to start talking about the bottom lane in 2018 and how it should be played, or different ways you can play it and what your objectives should be out of the bottom lane. Watching a lot of people play throughout the years, I've noticed that a lot of people either they go down there and they just try to farm it out and they try to get to like a game where they're like, I'm 3 items, I feel powerful now, or they get to a point where they try too hard to engage on the enemy team and then end up getting busted because of that. So there's just some like basics and whatnot that you need to learn to play marksman, and there's also some advanced features. And probably the number one most basic piece of playing any marksman is always just focus on farming above any and everything else. Is farming. You need to watch. You need to play toward your support. Meaning that if your support is your support is engaging or your support is doing something, you need to play with them. But at the same time, focusing on farming is the number one.
I'm laughing because Adam and I have been struggling with that one lately. We frequently end up on opposite sides of where one or the other of us needs to be. And it's been a pain point. It's been causing us some trouble during our laning phase. And so I think it's appropriate that he put it in there, even if we are personally struggling with it.
That's why I said earlier, I understand the irony in tonight's episode, because a lot of this is do as I say, not as I do. But some self-reflection when I was writing this document, when I was writing some of my key points out, as well as looking at some of the games that I've played over the last couple months, has made me realize, you know what? I just need to adjust play style because I'm not Jin anymore. I need to play. Thanks, by the way, for sneezing in my ear, Mary. This is so fantastic having you next to me. But
true love right there.
Yes. But yeah, right now the bottom lane is completely dominated by hyper carries more than less, or carries that have really good spikes through levels. Kog'Maw's a good one. A couple points in W is a good spike. With the right support, Vayne does really well. Twitch is up there. Varus does really well because he's doing mixed damage and whatnot. And you see these hyper carries really dominating on the bottom lane. Solution, Jin, and whatnot don't fare as well as they previously did. But something else these 80 carries also have is the fact that they do farm very well, and they put the gold toward items that are going to really snowball them through one item, rather than waiting on somebody like Tristana who needs 2 or 3 items to be really, really good at this point in time. So, as you're playing through it, something that else, when I say focus on farming, you should also be focusing on harassing the enemy champion. There are times when you're playing bottom lane, like there are good opportunities to lose CS, but you don't want to do it when you're taking so much trading, right? Like my thought process is like spinning through all these different things. Oh yeah, there's this and this little piece and this little piece you need to do, because there's so many dynamics that you need to play around in bottom lane. But I'll just take a step back. Let your support drive the lane. I need to work on that. Let your support drive the lane. If your support is the one harassing and poking, and their support's the one doing all that stuff, all you need to do is sit there and farm. Don't miss CS to help your support poke.
See, I agree to a point. Like, don't just let your support dictate everything. You kind of I think a lot of people go into laning phase with preconceived expectations for what they need to do in order to win. And the only thing that you need to do every single game to win is destroy the Nexus. That's really what it comes down to. So if you go in with this idea that only a specific set of things are going to win the game for you, odds are highly likely that you're going to start losing because you can't bend the game to your will. So what you need to do is kind of start adapting on stuff. And again, I'm going to use me and Adam as an example and everything. He and I have not been on the same page. He's been really trying to be aggressive about stuff during the early game, and I'm more like trying to feel out what the enemy is doing, and that's getting us killed because we're not on the same wavelength. And then when I turn around and I try to go aggressive, instead of us being patient, then the jungler shows up and kills us at, ganks us at level 2 and everything. And it's stuff that we should have been prepared for, but because we were trying to force our will on the game right off the bat, we ended up creating problems for ourselves.
Every time. You just have to. Yep. That's why it's good. If I don't think you should necessarily duo with a support, but it's something that you can do, and it does help out. At least your lane is going to be doing well. So if you can find somebody that you do really gel with throughout all the seasons, it's very helpful to have that support there, helping you and holding your hand throughout the lane. Because until like what, level 1 item / level 6 or so, you need that support there. You guys need to be on the same page. But your support can only help you so much. If you're walking up as a marksman and you're trying to go for last hits, but you're eating tons of harass damage to the enemy support or enemy AD carry, it's because you're likely doing something incorrectly. I'm not going to say 100% you are, but you could have a bad habit of walking up too far. Positioning is key. No matter what point of the game on AD carry, positioning is key. You have to be standing just in range enough that you can auto attack them. So you basically want to be standing max range from the person, and then be able to orb walk into the ranges as they move around. At any point in time that you are standing so close that they are halfway through your circle, you're likely, you made a misstep somewhere and they're trying to do something in the lane. Playing around minions in bottom lane too, how you want to play around them is good, because you have to decide, do I want to play toward the river, or do I want to play toward the bushes? Because you don't necessarily want to play in the minions. Someone like Jinx is just going to rocket the minions and pop you, and you're going to take extra damage. So playing around the outside of the minions, either left or right, depending on what your I guess the end goal is. You've got your ass covered in the river. You can play more toward the river if you're able to get escape out of there. And as well, you can also play in bottom lane by moving. If you move more toward the river, the enemy will actually naturally walk toward the bush, and that helps your support poke as well. So you see the little dance I'm talking about here, where there's 2 people, there's more of a dance in bottom lane than there is any of the other lanes.
Yeah. And it's like you will hear lots and lots of talk about matchups, and it's especially difficult in bot lane because now you have to worry about 2 different champions. And it's not so much about understanding, champion A beats champion B every single time and everything, or has this clear-cut advantage, because, that doesn't, you have to worry about champions B and C when you're looking at A, and then you also have champion D to consider. Your AD carry might work particularly well against their AD carry, but might struggle against the support that they picked. And so it's really just more about understanding what the opponent champions do, and then kind of just figuring out how to play around that and everything, and understanding your power spike. It might be that you struggle for the first 3 levels, but then you can turn it on and really start, really get going. And in other cases, it might be like, no, we're just like, we have a bad laning phase, and we're going to deal with the bad laning phase because we come online later on, right? And we have better team fighting champions. Right. But it's hard.
Bottom lane's super hard.
There's so many variables in bottom lane. There's upwards of, I'd be willing to argue, 6 at least direct variables, because you have your support, their AD, their support, and then both junglers that you really have to keep an eye on at all times.
Hell, you have to like 7 if you really want to count minion waves. Hell, 8 if you want to keep both, because you have some of the advanced
dragon.
Yeah, are people taking dragon? Where's the enemy jungler? What are they doing? What entrance are they coming through? All that kind of stuff you normally do. But something that's like an advanced tactic for marksman is actually watching your own minion health, because you can predict where the enemy is going to move and what minion they're going to go for next, allowing you to get free auto harass off. Now, trading is something that you have to get used to in every lane, but in bottom lane specifically, since there's 2 people, a good trade is one where you are walking out on top and you haven't moved the lane at all, because that's another thing. As soon as you start trading, minions start hitting you, and then you can move the lane, and then suddenly it's in their favor, even though you poke them down, a quarter of their life. There's a lot of healing going on right about in bottom lane, so the whole poking thing is not working out, as great as it is in previous seasons. But, use those bushes, right? If the bush isn't warded and you're trading, feel free to walk in the bush and drop minion aggro at any point in time.
It's such a big thing. Like, you need to pay attention to where the wards are, and you have to pay attention to the little things. Like, did the support just attack them? Is the support now getting hit by ranged minion, attacks? That means then the brush is warded, and now that's important information for you to play around and everything. Or did they attack, go back into brush, and they took no reprisal for it? That's good news for you. That's information you have. Like, it's going to be harder for them to really manipulate the wave, because you're oh, okay, sorry. So I had a pop-up thing that confused me. So, like, it can be really difficult to manipulate the wave, or I'm sorry, they'll have a harder time manipulating the wave if their minions aren't suddenly attacking the support.
Yes, sir. 1539. I got to mark some stuff. All right. Yeah, we got it. Warding is probably something that we should just sit here and harp on for a million years, and something Dom mentioned like 2 episodes ago or so. Marksman, you have wards. Like, one of the things I like to do is push early and then wrap back around. If I'm red side. If I'm red side, I like to wrap back around to that little tri-bush and drop my ward in there so that we're safe. I always try to keep one ward on me at any point in time as a marksman, just because I want to be able to step ward through bushes. There's a lot of fights that break out in bottom lane, and the side brushes aren't warded for some reason, and you need to be able to ward that bush just to get that extra auto attack off to kill him.
I don't understand why AD carries have such a hard time dropping their wards. Because to me, and like I pick AD carry as my secondary, and obviously I look at this always from a support standpoint, and so I'm always trying to ward proactively. But when I play AD carry, I'm looking at it like, where am I the most vulnerable? Like, from what angle am I the most vulnerable to something going on? That's where I want my ward. You know, and it does depend on the matchup and everything. If I'm up against Janna, you know, if Janna is the enemy support, yeah, she's got her slow, she's got her knock-up and everything, but by and large, these things are pretty telegraphed and hard to use like as straight-up engagement tools. They're great for harass, but they're hard to engage with. Then I'm more worried about getting a ward in the river, so that if the jungler is coming from one angle, you know, at least from that angle and everything, I'm a little bit more secure. But if I'm up against Blitz, Crank, Thresh, Nautilus, you know, even Alistar, but like that type of champion, somebody who can just snare me or jump on me if I don't have vision, you know, of them, then I absolutely want ward in that lane brush. And I just don't understand why more AD carries aren't concerned about that, because you're fragile. Like, you can have the best support in the world, and they can only prevent so much damage from coming at you if you are not paying attention to what else is going on.
I have to imagine, because most AD carries all the way up until mid diamond, legitimately mid or high diamond, do not pay attention to everything that is going around them, myself included. I try to be very mindful about where I drop my wards and when I drop my wards, because I like to have the vision down, but it's very hard to last hit, watch the enemies move around, and try to track like the jungler at the same exact time, because there's a lot I have to put into there, because that's maybe it's an excuse for why people aren't doing it, but I think it's a legitimate one.
I guess I disagree, because if you don't have a ward, you also, like, if you don't have vision of a spot, a teammate can't ping that the jungler is there or that another threat is coming.
Sure.
You know, you're denying yourself that opportunity. And if you put the ward down from a spot where you think you're going to be vulnerable, then you are at the very, like, even if you are bad at paying attention personally, you at least give your teammates the opportunity to communicate that threat to
help you out.
No, I agree with you. I shouldn't have said it's a legit excuse. That's not what I meant by that. I think it's an answer, but it's not the answer that should.
I'm sure it's why people do it,
be
but
said, right? Like, that shouldn't happen.
Right.
People should be using their words.
Wouldn't that also be applicable to mid lane then, for these squishy mid lane mages then?
Yeah, mid lane needs to be warding the middle of their lane. They need to stop walking. I mean, they can, obviously, but at any point in time, if you're getting pushed in quite a bit or you're roaming quite a bit as a mid laner, hey, we're doing a mid lane podcast. You need to ward the middle of your lane, because you need to see where that enemy goes to at any point in time that you're not in that lane. Like, if they come back clear and then move down left or right, you'll know which way they went. The same can be said for bottom lane. I will every once in a while drop a ward in the lane just to see where the enemy's at. Like, if we don't have a lot of deep vision on the enemy side, lane ward is really good, just to kind of get an idea. Okay, the enemy is walking down through here, or you know, the enemy's walking away. It's not very often. It's probably only 1% of the time it happens, but there are some legitimate reasons to have wards down for there.
Yeah, I mean, if you have that ward there, you either know that they're hanging around or you know that they're gone. Like, I feel like people have this idea that a ward that doesn't spot an enemy doesn't have a lot of value, and I disagree on that. A ward that doesn't spot an enemy lets you know that, hey, the enemy is not right in that area, and that's important to know.
Yes.
Yeah. Sometimes they might be right outside, and then you kind of bamboozle yourself, but you know, more often than not, a ward that doesn't spot an enemy is a pretty good indicator that the enemy is not really near it.
Correct. Yes. Yep. So that's warding. Yeah, let's.
Lack of knowledge.
Well, we'll circle back to that because warding, after the laning phase, especially on AD carry, is a whole different creature.
Ward. That's. I don't know if we need to circle back to that more so than warding as an AD carry after laning phase is getting a blue trinket, and then you become the primary Baron spotter when your support can't get to it.
But it's also like you need to know how to quick throw down that combat ward so that you can get vision if you need it. And like yes, your support and your other teammates are probably trying to do that or thinking about doing that. But if you have the blue ward, hey, that's a really good opportunity to quick get vision, and maybe that's a skill shot you hit or a auto attacks that you get off as a result, because it's hard to fucking kill those wards like in the heat of combat.
Oh yeah, you can't kill.
I mean, we're saying that happens with those combat wards is 3 wards go down in that bush. So,
hey, I'd rather have 3 wards go down in the middle of a hard team fight than no wards at all. So
exactly. So,
so if you haven't already gone out there and listened to any of our previous podcasts, we have a huge back catalog. You can just at this point you could probably Google the term and Trinity Force podcast and find it in Google faster than you're gonna find it on our website. But like we did a whole episode based on orb walking. If you are not properly orb walking throughout the entirety of the game, you need to go back into training mode and learn how to orb walk as a marksman, and you also need to start working on your mouse. What's the word I'm looking for? Accuracy. Mouse pointer accuracy, because there are a lot of team fights where people will be bunched up together and you need to be able to click on that one enemy. And I have been trying to pay a lot more attention to it recently, and I'm getting a lot better at it, but it's also still very hard. Either adjusting your DPI to better help you with that, or
that's a huge one.
Using your A attack move. Really, using A attack move is the bigger one, because if you're not doing A attack move, you are attacking whatever's closest to your cursor when you right click.
Mm-hmm.
I am throughout the entirety of the game, I attack everything with A attack. I don't ever right click on enemy champions anymore. And I spent, I don't know, probably half a year teaching myself to use that properly when I started really.
It's a long process, and if you're not constantly doing it, it's not the type of thing that you just slide right back into. You have to really, really work to build that habit.
You know what's funny is it's become such a habit and so ingrained in me at this point that every game I play, all RPGs and everything, I'm doing the same thing. I was playing through Diablo 2 again recently, and I find myself orb walking through every time I play any kind of ranged champion. And I went and played Heroes of the Storm, and of course you got to orb walk in that because it's a MOBA. But like, that Heroes of the Storm's throwing me off because there's no A attack move there. It's just right click attack. And so like I'm trying to do it and it's not working. But yeah, every game I play that has some kind of like character you control, I'm always orb walking in some fashion. So you find that it actually increases your ability to play other games as well. But orb walking, for those out there that don't know, is where you attack and then in between your attack timer you move. Just you either move forward, back, left, to right. I think Callista always moves in between. She kind of naturally orb walks, but through her
she might be the best case for like teaching the at least the concept. It feels really wonky on her in my estimation. And if I'm recalling correctly, isn't it Caitlyn? Isn't Caitlyn really good to learn on?
Caitlyn's easy to learn orb walking.
Just because her animation is pretty quick.
I think Varus is really easy to learn orb walking on too.
Yeah, Varus is pretty good too.
He's got a real Tristana sucks to learn on. Her attack animation is their wind up and everything's real slow.
Twitch is not great.
Yeah, Twitch isn't great. Xayah is fine. Lucian is a little wonky. I think they did change some of that though recently. Lucian's a little wonky. Kog'Maw early can be, but when he gets some more attack speed, he's easier to control.
Misfortune is frustrating.
Yes,
because of the way love tap works.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like I know that's not strictly orb walking and everything, but I think part of orb walking is kind of timing your auto attacks properly to last hit, especially early on, and that can be really frustrating on Misfortune because, just the way love tap works.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say definitely go pick up Caitlyn or what was the other one I said? Varus or somebody, and just kind of learn what orb walking is. This is where you attack, and in between your attack timer, you move a step. And generally, you're using it to kite people back. And you'll see if you go watch the LCS, you'll see every single AD carry out their orb walk the entire time. Hell, you will orb walk on everybody across all everybody in this entire game orb walks. If you're on a melee champion, you are orb walking because you're trying to stay one step ahead of the enemy, because that's one more auto attack you could get in if you're standing in front of them.
Yeah,
It's like I don't do as much orb walking as I would like to, but a big part of that is that so many supports have really, really bad auto attack animations that as much as I would like to get that kiting backward auto attack in or something, it's like I'm probably going to be standing still too long if I actually want the auto attack to go.
Yeah,
Like I'll either cancel it before, I'll either cancel my my animation before the attack goes, or I'll get caught.
So let's talk about lane creep management, right? These guys like to poke fun at me because for some reason I pick up on a word and then I say it, then I drop it. I say it for like 4 weeks straight, then I drop it. But there are freezes and opportunities that you can do in bottom lane. The one that I picked up on for a long time was the soft freeze, and dictating how the lane goes based on where you keep the minion wave. We've talked about freezing 100 times over, but it's also paramount in bottom lane. Like if you're really far ahead, keeping that lane frozen next to your turret allows the enemy or allows your jungler to come down and gank for you. At the same time, like if you are behind and they're pushing in your turret, but you have enough firepower in your kit to level that wave, try to level that wave out right there, you know, right outside your turret by the, what do you want to call it? The, you know, oval shaped landmass. There's got to be a term people use for that, right? Right outside each turret, there's that little landmass that's on by the river. The wall.
Yeah,
because that's usually I use that as my focal point. Like I want to keep the minion wave never going past that point, because if I go past that point, they're in turret range.
I mean the ward between kind of river and tribrush, that type of thing.
Yeah, it's a weird place. Anyway, yeah, keep it there. Try to keep that minion wave there or in the middle. Something that I see so many bronze and silver marksmen don't do is they don't trade minion for minion at all points in this game, or almost all points. There are niche case scenarios where you want the lane to push because the enemy jungler is coming, but you need to match kill for kill. If the enemy kills one minion, you kill either that same minion on their side or a minion of equal value, because you need to be staying within experience, you know, stay within the same experience level as them, as well as the lane doesn't move as long as you keep the minion waves equal, or it roughly doesn't move.
And it's tricky. Like, that sounds really easy to do, but it's tricky because there's something of an RNG element involved in there. Like, you don't have a lot of say over what the minions attack.
Mm-hmm.
And so your minions might focus down, you know, one minion at a time of the opponent, and theirs might not, you know, if based on what type of actions they took along the way. And so, like, you have to be really mindful of that type of stuff. Maybe you ease off the gas or the amount of damage that you're otherwise pumping into the lane, you know, whether it's poking, you know, ambient damage by poking, or the damage your support's throwing out there, you know, like, not that you have control over that, but just those types of things really can influence the wave management element of it. And so that's where the nuance comes in and how it ends up being so much more difficult than it sounds.
Yeah, that's if you're playing the opposite side of this, you're playing a support, try to last hit the minions. Like if you have Relic Shield, try not to kill the minion at full life unless you guys are obviously pushing the lane. Try to get it more near a last hit style. You'll understand what your marksman is trying to do if they understand lane freezing, because if you last hit a minion at near full life, you pretty much kill the freeze at that point, because the lane's going to start slowly pushing because your minions aren't taking damage.
And I know a lot of AD carries are bad about paying attention to relic shield stacks. Suck it up. Like, as frustrating as it can be sometimes, and I do know, you know, you have a big advocate. I totally empathize here, but suck it up, because the lane freeze is far more important than the 20 gold that you were going to otherwise get.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just need the lane to be kept where it is. Sometimes, and then sometimes you can't, and then sometimes you screw up your lane freeze because you're trying to keep the lane fed or frozen. But then you auto attack the minions too quickly, and then you screw up your own freeze. See, it's a little art form. I'm still trying to learn how to do it properly, but it's very
well.
cool.
And like, don't forget, it changes every year. You know,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
like, now they've done things like add the minion dematerializer. There's a lot more ambient damage going into some lanes because of Arcane Comet. you know, or aftershock and all that type of stuff. Like there are different things that influence it, and you don't realize they're playing such a big role during the lane management portion of it, but they really are, and that can be frustrating when you feel like you had a good handle on something, and then Riot, he said, nope, now it's time for you to play checkers, not chess.
I need to start trying minion dematerializer in the bottom lane. I know I've mentioned it before to like you, Dom, but I need to actually go out there and try that and see how well that works. But especially with next changes coming next patch, hell, tomorrow essentially. But that's you know that's what it is. That's lane creep management. It's a big one down there in bottom lane. But continue to talk through the laning phase of here being a marksman. Just some kind of like general rule of thumbs. If you're playing a power farmer or that's your type of style, you just want to play safe and engage only during moments of opportunity. But if you're a push poke style, which is more, that's my style, is you always need to keep track of the enemy jungler and enemy mid laner and keep your ass warded at all times. And this comes back to the warding spot. Your ass always needs to be warded. That if you are push poking back behind you, if it's not warded, don't push. Bye, Mary. So yeah, keep your ass warded and watch for what wards are, and then keep a track of the enemy jungler. But those are just kind of like rule of thumbs for how you should play the laning phase. It's really after laning phase where it gets really dicey as playing a marksman, because it's so easy just to walk mid lane and start stealing all your mid lane's farm. I think Vrail, I should post his little chart that he posted the other day in Slack, where he's got like phenomenal CS all the way up until what do you say, like 20 minutes, and then everybody comes in his lane and his CS just drops off the face of the earth.
Yep, 20 minutes and then his CS drops. He had like what was it? It was a CSD at 15 chart. And at like 5 minutes, he had like a 5 minion lead. 10 minutes, he had like a 20 minion lead. And then at about 20 minutes, he was suddenly down 20, 30 minions.
Yeah, because the bottom lane is ended at that point. They walk up there. Oh, just one other point before I get there is ADC's last thing. If your enemy support leaves at any point in time, usually this happens after you've both gone back and the enemy support is going to go ward while you walk your ass back to lane and take forever to buy. It's that you need to play safe. Always keep track of your enemy, your support. Play safe. And it took me a while to learn that one, but I'm glad it finally caught on, because my deaths for walking back to lane after I've gone back with Dom have gone to almost 0.
Like, AD carries get so hung up on this idea that they have a babysitter in bot lane, and yeah, you do for a lot of it, but babysitters have to step away every now and then and take care of something else for just a moment before they come back to keep their eyes on you, and you need to be mindful of that fact. Like,
Shut up,
really, really vulnerable at that time.
And put a bottle in my mouth, Dom.
But like, you're far from the only player I played with. My brother is an AD carry main. Like, I've played with him a bunch, and I will leave to go. Like, we'll recall at the same time. I will go and just to drop a ward in the jungle that I know is going to be otherwise important for us and everything. And so he gets to lane back earlier than I do and everything. And in that, 15 seconds or whatever, where I was not there, he gets himself killed. Like, it's been a while since this type of stuff happens, but it's absolutely happened before. And it drives me crazy. It's like, I'm not there. You should know that I'm not there. Why are you trying to pick a fight? Why are you acting like you have the most power in that area? Because you don't.
You said it in that sentence. You should know that I am not there. However, most of us buy our items and then AFK and read Reddit as we're walking back. No, not actually, but I'll be walking back looking at other places in the map thinking, my support is following me. It's fun. Oh, they're in a good place to get. Oh shit, this hurts. Oh, it hurts. Where's the they start crying, right? Because they're hitting you and you die and you go, ah, fuck. How many times just recently, though, as a marksman, have I wandered through the woods by myself? And that's one of my points, is don't wander through the woods by yourself. And I say out loud in Discord, I am going to die here, or that Zed is in that bush. And there, lo and behold, I ward it, and that Zed is in that bush. Trust your instincts and don't.
The game in question that I'm thinking, we just did it yesterday. Like, this Zed was getting pretty out of hand to begin with, but we spotted him trying to flank us from behind. And so I was meeting the group up at our top turret and everything. And then Adam starts running into the area where we had more or less spotted Zed, says aloud, I'm going to die to Zed right here. and then sure shit dies, and I'm just like, I didn't say it because the game was already going south, but I'm like, if you knew he was there, like if you knew that this was going to happen, why did you keep going that way?
Why do babies try to kill themselves at every possible moment? Just because
Fair
they
enough.
just do, right? Like why do kids you get it. Like you just do stupid shit sometimes.
It's one of the things I always really appreciated about playing with Santana. He narrates almost everything that he's doing, or everything that's going on. Like, he will call out almost every ability on cooldown, certainly all summoners. He predicts where a lot of different opponents are going to be and that type of stuff. And that information is really, really useful. But as an exercise, just trying to, like, predict and make educated guesses on what your opponents are doing can be really, really valuable in sort of training yourself to avoid dangerous situations like we just described.
Are you trying to say you don't like Sean's verbal diarrhea as we play a game where
I love Sean's verbal diarrhea.
He calls and dictates every single thing that's going on. He's like, not today, big boy, or not today, big boy. And you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Sean's all by himself in the lane talking to the cannon minion. Like, you can't decipher heads or tails from what Sean's saying.
I mean, Punch and I have been playing a lot together, and sometimes, he's an AD carry secondary and everything, but Punch and I will go like 15 minutes without saying a word to each other.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no.
And that's bad. We really should be communicating more. It's just sort of like some, different personalities. But I did always appreciate Santana's willingness just to get every single piece of information that might possibly be useful out to the team. And I always thought it was a really good exercise that I wish I had the discipline to instill in myself. I never think of it in the moment, though.
Yeah, it's really hard to do. Well, let's talk about after laning phase. We've talked about this a lot, but rotating top lane is a really good one if you get the tower early. If you don't get the tower early, you have two choices, a marksman. Either you're going to sit bottom lane and you're going to try to freeze that wave and hope that your team can hold off the enemy from, generally speaking, enemies go mid lane, right? But you need to match tit for tat. So if you lose that bottom lane turret and the enemy's starting to rotate top or look like they're, show they're rotating top, you and your support need to rotate top with them, and then hope that your jungler and mid are at the point in the game where they're able to roam a bit more, or a bit more freed up, and then your top lane can go down there and freeze the wave down bottom side. But rotating along with the AD carry, no matter how far, I don't want to say no matter how far behind, but we're assuming pretty equal footing at this point, is better than sitting bottom lane and freezing it. I really do believe that long gone are the times where marksmen would sit bottom lane for 10 minutes, even if they're behind, and try to freeze the wave, because people have gotten really good about rotating, or better at rotating than they were in previous seasons. And so you sitting down bottom lane and just kind of farming and trying to get that 20-30 CS back that you're down doesn't do so much for your team as you being available to help with a large team fight or whatever it may be.
Your items are expensive, and other lanes have cheaper items comparatively, and they're also getting levels faster. So kind of the longer you focus on just one spot, the more likely it is you're going to start drawing a lot of attention onto yourself. And before you realize it, unless you're really good, at which point you probably don't need to hear everything that we're telling you. But the more attention you start drawing to yourself, the harder it is going to be to keep that lead that you've built.
Right. Yeah, you only have one flash, right? One flash for 5 minutes, and unless you're playing somebody else in an escape, even then you're not necessarily getting away. But you're helping your team secure objectives as well. If your team doesn't seem to be focusing on Rift Herald, if you go ahead and take the bottom turret, ping Rift Herald or ping top lane, and then if they stop your top mid push, roll over to Rift Herald and take that. Same thing with dragons. At any point in time during laning phase, if you're able to push the enemies out, go ahead and ping dragon if the jungler is somewhere nearby, because early dragons, 5, 6, 7 minutes, are super impactful and helpful for your team. Plus you get you have more than less control at that point of the dragons. I miss the days where you actually got the timer on the dragon and they didn't know you snuck it, because then you really had control of the dragon.
Yeah. Those are the fun days.
Right. Yeah, your time as marksman at that point is everything at the marksman and mid and late game really is dictated by your team. But something that you need to make sure you're always doing is always attacking the tower when you're able to, but you're respecting what the enemy can do. Goes to the team fighting now. Team fighting skirmishing piece. Do not be afraid to sit in the back and not attack for the first few seconds of a team fight, because you need to watch cooldowns.
Post laning, AD carry is really about making the most of your auto attacks, and understanding how to do that. And I feel like a lot of lower MMR players struggle with that. First off, because they don't know how to orb block and animation cancel, and that's important. But second, because it's more fun to use abilities. And that's really what it comes down to. Like, it's more fun to use your abilities. And AD carries don't fundamentally have a bunch of abilities that are dealing a ton of damage. It's really all about the sustained damage and the damage from the auto attacks. And so make the most of your auto attacks. And sometimes it's attacking somebody that you really would rather not. Tanks have a lot of armor. They're going to shrug off a lot of the damage that you are able to put into them. But, 70 HP of 70 damage into a tank is still 70 damage into a tank. It's always going to be about, adding all those numbers up. You're never really going to wipe somebody, just one champion off the face of the planet with one auto attacker ability. You might crit a support and totally wipe them, but that's few and far between, and enjoy it when it happens, but don't rely, don't let that be your only source of enjoyment.
Don't let that be your goal.
Yeah.
Targets of opportunity. So a lot of times AD carries actually end up playing cleanup in team fights when there's a lot of like divers and whatnot on the enemy team. There was a recent game where I played as Tristana, and the Gangplank was always trying to flank me, and there was a couple team fights where he popped me pretty good with some barrel combos because he had them set up. But in the last team fight of the game, I specifically waited and watched. I think I was attacking the Sejuani until I saw the Gangplank come into my field of vision. And I popped his barrel down. And once his barrel was gone, we just jumped on him and killed him. And then, the Tristana chain reset of W's started, and that's when the team fight gets mopped up. But paying attention to what can kill you and why it's killing you is just as important as hitting the enemy tank.
Yeah.
So
honestly, a good series of videos that I found for kind of explaining that whole deal is the old team fight breakdowns that Jat and them used to do on Professional Play.
Yeah, those are really good.
Where they would actually number each person's priority in a team fight and break down as they walked into the AD carry's fields of opportunity. So I highly go ahead.
Didn't he break down an Ezreal one from a Korean game at one point? I think Captain Jack, maybe. I'm pretty sure there was a good like Ezreal triple kill or something, or pentakill that came out that he broke down. But yeah, no, go check those out. You are 100% correct. Those are phenomenal videos because they have really good production value because it comes from Riot too.
Yeah, highly recommend those.
But yeah, post laning phase is just you're there to mow down towers and to clean up team fights. I hear a lot of people say that AD carries should be doing the most damage. And, they should have really high damage numbers. But with the way, yes, you should be doing a lot of damage, and you will be doing a lot of damage. But, don't feel bad if you're walking out of games winning a lot, but you're not topping the damage charts. You're second or maybe third. Yeah. Because if you're playing certain carries, if you're mopping up team fights because of the way the enemy team is put together, you're doing your job. You're drawing flack. Hell, what was it? There was a few weeks ago, Don, where we played, where people thought, thought that you were or was it you or me? Or no, they thought I was like the most like, I was Vayne, and they thought I was like the fucking threat of the world. They blew every cooldown they had on me. I died every single team fight, but I did my job. I just existed.
It hit a point where I stopped putting. I think I was Lulu. It hit a point where I just stopped even trying to save you because they were blowing big cooldowns on you. You were gonna die no matter what happened. So instead, if I can prop up the jungler or mid laner or just somebody else at that point, it's like that's more valuable because then like you were gonna die no matter what. They just had too much dive, and I was only one lowly support.
Yeah, one little.
I wasn't Tom Kench, so I wasn't gonna keep you alive no matter what. So at that point, it's like, well, I'm gonna hedge my bets on somebody else being able to do more since they're going to use all of their abilities on Adam.
Yeah, it's one of those things of going back to your point of not having the most damage in a fight or in a game, whatever, is you may not have as much damage in the game, but you're going to have a whole hell of a lot more damage in that game if you just stay alive than if you put yourself in a highly dangerous situation. Like, if you get 4 steps closer to that Z, I'm going to wait while this motorcycle goes by. If you take 4 steps closer to that Z, is he now going to be able to W ult onto you and blow you up?
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's almost an art, being able to prevent yourself from becoming the target of opportunity. And similarly, it's sort of an art to figuring out how to make yourself the target of opportunity while not dying.
Yeah,
and that's more on supports. But AD carries, like you really have to figure out how to not be within the threat range of all the opponents while still dealing a lot of damage. And of course, they're trying to figure out how to get to you and everything. And that's League of Legends what it comes down to and everything. But like that's kind of just stuff you're only going to figure out by playing and just like really going through and paying attention to what's going on. And sometimes it is the difference between one step too far forward. Like maybe you tried to get off an auto attack that you shouldn't have, or maybe you used your skill shot, or you used a dash ability, and that ended up getting you just too far into range or something like it can be really the difference of one step, and it can be the difference between life and death.
I've been trying to figure out how to say what I've been thinking, and Asmodai in chat actually said it. This is exactly what I've been trying to say, is that in my opinion, AD carries are the objective takers and mages are the damage and the team fight control.
Yep.
So surviving a team fight with doing subpar air quotes damage is more important for an AD carry at any point in time, because if the team fight ends and the AD carry is alive, that means objectives are dying. If the mage dies but the AD carry, and if the AD carry dies and the mage is alive, objectives are not necessarily being taken. This is including Baron, this is including Dragon, everything else. AD carries need to be alive at any point in time because they're the ones who kill towers the fastest.
In most cases, you can probably argue that the expendable champions are 2 out of top lane, mid lane, and support.
Yeah.
Oops, I'm sorry. My phone is not usually on. That's my bad. Ideally you don't lose any of them. Next best, I guess, would be losing only one and everything. But I think in most situations you can afford to give up 2 of those 3 champions and still make headway. But if you lose the jungler or the AD carry, or like heaven forbid both, odds are good you are not going to be able to take a whole lot.
Right. It's pretty much a wash. That team fight is a wash at that point. If you can't get something out of that, even if it's like clearing the enemy jungle after you get the team fight, it's just the team fight ends up being a wash. You could walk out and go, I made 300 gold. Well, the enemy team made 900 gold, right?
Yeah.
So
and it's just like, think about Baron. Like, it's so much harder to take Baron if your AD carry is not there. It's really, really. There are certainly comps that can sneak it or can do it well without an AD carry and everything, but every comp does it pretty well with the AD carry there.
Yep, that prolonged damage helps so much.
Well, let's talk about some of these listener questions, because I think we've covered all like the kind of basics, or this is how you're playing Marksman, this is what you're looking for. I want to hit some of these questions because they're more nuanced questions, sort of. Madume writes in, I play mostly ADC and I seem to be having a tough time knowing when to play aggressive. Should I be trying to play off my support, etc.? My games are always go so long. Playing safe works out for me more often than not. I don't like these long games, though, as I don't have much time to play. Well,
apologies. I know you put the pronunciation of your name in your email. I didn't include it in the document, so if we butchered it, that's on Dom.
It's on me, too, because I can't read. Obviously, I was calling beer bear one week, so... we'll just call you Maud because there's no U between your A and the D, but I'm going to call you Maud anyway. When you're playing out of... Okay, first and foremost, this game right now does not lend well to early tower taking, and they just upped turret armor, and I think they're doing it fucking again this next patch, if I remember correctly. They're fucking with towers again this patch, if they didn't do it last patch. So the game does not lend itself to taking towers early, meaning aggressive early game ADCs are not playing well. So if you're playing, assume 45 minutes to an hour every single game you play. But when you're playing aggressively in the bottom lane, yes, you're playing around your support. Yes, you're playing around the enemy and how they're playing. But primarily, you're trying to take advantage of poor positioning by someone on the enemy team. Either this is a support or marksman. If they walk too close to a bush or too close to you, whatever it may be, that's when you're blowing your cooldowns and using, and basically saying, step up off me and get away from, whatever, my zone, right? If the enemy marksman comes up, I'm watching my minion health, my backline is low, the enemy walks up to try to kill some of that backline, I'm popping them a couple times in the face. And so now they have to take 200 damage just to be able to get 3 minions in the backline.
In a lot of cases, your auto attack range is as long as the support spell that's coming your way. Obviously, that's different if it's like a hook champion. But one of the things that I'm always paying attention to is whether or not an AD carry shoots me when I walk up to try and throw a spell or even just an auto attack at them. If I get a lot of that free stuff off and everything, you bet your ass I'm always going to be playing up and trying to zone you off and everything because you are clearly scared to shoot me. But you also notice a lot of support players, easing up the gas a little bit if they keep taking bullets or arrows or feathers or whatever else, in the face because they walk up and try and use ability. Some of that's going to depend on the opposing support, but that's one metric I'm using is what does the AD carry do when I take an action, and I start to use that to inform my decisions from there. And so that's kind of like that plays into what's going on here. Watch what the support is doing and everything. If they're not coming up to do anything to you, then you do have the opportunity to start being a little bit more aggressive with your abilities because they're not going to punish you for it, or they've given you no inclination for it. This is especially true if you're up against a melee champion that doesn't have an especially threatening ability like Braum. Braum is really threatening if he tags you and then and then you eat a whole bunch of autos, but he's got to get that through minions, and you don't. So Braum is going to have a lot harder time dealing, like preventing harass and dealing with that type of stuff than Thresh, or Janna, or even Sona.
Sure. Yeah, play around what they're doing. Like you said, that's what it comes down to. You need to recognize patterns and recognize how the enemy is playing to get a better feel of when you need to trade. And sometimes the lanes just go to the point where you're no longer trading. The only thing you're trading is farm, and that's okay. Because you just wait. You wait till something breaks open, either top, mid, or bot lane, or someone comes, etc., and that's when the game breaks open.
Bot lane these days definitely feels like you're just trying to not lose.
Yes, pretty much.
And part of it's because there's so many teleports with Unsealed Spellbook now in play.
Mm-hmm.
And there are fewer wards overall in bot lane because of the Sightstone change, at least for a small stretch of time, or even previously, with Ardent Sensor being a rush item for so long there. So they're kind of there's less vision, so junglers are having a little bit easier time sneaking into bot lane, although zombie ward is a thing too. Right. But it feels like there's always a lot of other opponent presence in bot lane instead of just a 2v2, and so most days I'm just like, we don't need to crush our lane. I really just want to not lose our tower first.
Let's just sit back and farm. We're gonna have a little tea and just kind of be bored. Well, let's answer Ryan's question. Ryan writes in, I'm currently silver 2, playing mostly Jason Renekton. Out of the top lane, I want to pick up Marksman. I am good mechanically, but I cannot see us worth a shit under pressure bottom lane. I get poked out super hard, especially by Jhin. How can I improve on this? I think my reply to this in chat was, actually no, I think it was Beaver's reply to it in chat was, you are not good mechanically if you can't see us under tower while getting poked. And I'm sorry, Ryan. It's most likely true, right? Because if you're playing Marksman, you have to be really good mechanically, because like we said, orb walking comes into play. But and Jhin shouldn't be poking you out super hard underneath the tower because his auto attack range isn't significantly that long. Like if Jhin is poking you out, it's because the support is poking you, and you probably did something previous to that to get to the point where the minion wave is so large that it's crashing into you and you have to play around everybody. I'd be more sympathetic if you were saying someone like Caitlyn.
A lot of champions have audio cues. And it would behoove you to start paying attention to those so that you know when a threatening ability is coming your way, whether that's an Ezreal Q, Morgana binding, any of that stuff. Ideally, you start to develop your sight, or at least your peripheral vision, so that you see when those champions are moving in position to doing something. Eventually, you start playing against players who know how to fake that type of stuff, and they maybe act like they're going to cast an ability and then not. But you just kind of got to train yourself to both look for and hear different abilities that are going to be coming your way, because that's ultimately going to teach you how to dodge a lot more of that harass. And then you're not going to be in those pressure situations that you seem to find yourself in.
Right.
Yeah. Jin specifically, I can think of the audio cue for his fourth shot.
He counts to 4 every time.
Yeah, right.
Well, that, and just while he has it loaded, there's a whine that comes.
There is.
It's a very distinct sound, though.
It really bugs me that Jin has the bar indicator that gives you very clearly tells you a big shot coming, and Caitlyn doesn't have the same thing with headshot. I really hate that.
She has a visual indicator around her gun.
Yeah, but that's a lot harder to spot than Jin's number thing underneath his health bar. And Annie has the same thing built into her kit now, so it's kind of not like... Porky. Yeah, so it's sort of like, hey, we have a lot of other visual cues. Why does Caitlyn get this weird advantage?
Don't know. Can't answer that question. Sorry, I'm not Riot.
I know you can. It's just sort of like, that's always bothered me, because Caitlyn, it also, like, there isn't as clear of an audio. Like, there is one, and you can hear it, but there is often enough other stuff going on that it can be, difficult to pick up.
Right.
Well, so instead of focusing on, CSing under a tower when you're under pressure, let's focus on what you did to get to that point. Because if they're hitting level 2 before you, you're not matching tit for tat when it comes to waves. Or if you're taking too much poke, you're walking too far ahead. Listen to everything else we previously said here, because I think there's going to be something that's going to strike a chord. And you're going to go, that's why I'm getting to this point. We can focus on, getting harassed under the tower at a later point. I think there's more to be said about, like, the basic fundamentals of bottom lane and learning those as a new marksman than there is to getting pushed and trying to figure out how to play, in the area you're in. Get better at the previous point so you don't get to that point. Then you never have to work on it. And it never matters. Yeah. We'll answer this last question. Then Tom Ganks writes in. He writes in a freaking paragraph, man. Traditionally a support main and mostly play tank supports. I recently had a few games where I had a marksman that has some mobility. And there were moments in the game where I would move up to lance a poke on the enemy marksman at the same time the enemy support would move to mine. In these situations, I thought it would be better to keep the enemy ADC zoned off because my ADC can escape without my help. However, the solo queue all-stars then died to the enemy support and blamed me for not collapsing back onto them being there to peel. I didn't make them fight. I walked out of this mostly unharmed, and if I did fall back, I would allow the enemy marksman to follow and re-engage. Any thoughts on the situation? Is it just bad luck? Is it just miscommunication from solo queue?
I mean, he must be running into like Zyra or Morgana or some support that's dealing a lot of damage, because even Leona at her peak a few weeks ago shouldn't have had so much damage that she could just, like, especially early game, she could just run down an 80 carry. Like, that would be pretty freaking problematic for the game.
Not unless the 80k was super low health in the first place.
For early stuff like that, the general rule of thumb for both the 80 carry and support is attack the 80 carry. So if the support runs you down, you're making a good decision as a support to try and zone off the other 80 carry and prevent them from dealing damage to yours. But ideally, you would be sort of connecting on their 80 carry so that your 80 carry can follow up with the damage and everything. Their support was doing what they were supposed to be doing, and it sounds to me, based on only the evidence that we have, it sounds like you were doing what you were supposed to be doing. But because this was our 80 carry episode, it's like, focus the 80 carry. They're the damage dealer.
Most of the time, I ignore the or the support. Like, if the enemy support starts walking at me, but my support's walking at the enemy marksman, I just walk by the enemy support and keep going for the marksman. And yeah, supports can hurt early. I'll give you that. They can easily half-life you through a combo, but they're not going to necessarily kill you. And you have heal and whatnot to walk through it, but just I would say in those cases, if you find that people are not following you like they should to kill the enemy marksman, zoning and using your abilities on the enemy support to help them kill them is probably better than chasing down the marksman and pushing the marksman out of the fight, just because it sounds like your marksman is not following your cues.
And so I guess the one piece of info we don't have in this question is what type of support you're running into. If it is a Zyra or a Brand or a Vel'Koz or something, and they got an early kill, they're probably coming back to lane with a lot of threatening, with a lot of threat. And in those situations, then you do have to start being mindful of the support and doing things to keep your AD carry alive, even if that means like not racing down and zoning out the opponent AD carry. Because those mage supports early on can deal a lot of damage if you gave them the opportunity to get a leg up on you.
Sorry, I was answering a question in chat. But yeah,
the one thing I'm noticing here is like you don't play a lot of champions that have good abilities for like displacing somebody. Yeah, you have Thresh and Blitzcrank, but if your hook is on cooldown, I guess Thresh still has Flay, which will displace a little bit, but it's not like Alistar, like just totally knocking somebody out.
Does he play Tom Kench?
He does, but TK's got to hit a Q and then auto attack him 3 times before.
Oh yeah, no, I asked because his name's Tom Ganks.
Yeah, he plays Tom Kench. It says.
Yeah.
If he doesn't play Tom Kench, I'd be very upset. That's like naming yourself mid-lane main and playing support. The fuck you doing with your life?
Play luck support, man.
Ugh, don't even. But that's more or less Marksman in 2018. Play safe, be bored, do damage, take objectives, take more objectives. Marksman in 2018 is fucking boring, okay? It just is. If you asked us, every position in this game is terrible and awful and nothing is fun. But, it is what you make it. So, that's all I got for that. That's all I got to say. I'm going to try to be better. I'm doing a lot of self-reflection. These episodes are helpful, too, because they force... So as a player who's been playing Marksman for a while, who got Diamond playing Marksman, etc., and plays with a bunch of other guys, plays with a bunch of Diamonds, it's what's that?
Brag about it.
Yeah, I know. I figured that. I'm just throwing it out there from somebody who plays. I'm just trying to say somebody who plays because I'm trying to like put a frame of mind for people out here, right? We're trying to come from you from like a Diamond perspective, from a higher Elos perspective most of the time. All of us, even at the ranks that some of you out there listening would like to get to, still have problems with all of this. It's just that we make less mistakes than you do, but that doesn't mean we're immune to we're not immune to any of this. Like, I still don't ward all the time. I don't always avoid floating in minion waves. Fuck, I just had that conversation this weekend about how fucking poorly I'm playing Marksman and how I had to, readjust everything. And that's fine. We all have to sit back and figure it out.
I still walk too far forward every now and then. I mean, like, it just happened Sunday. It's like, fuck, I just took one step too far forward, and then minions got in my way. Like, that was really what it was. I took one step too far forward, and then suddenly I couldn't get through this wall of minions, and I was screwed.
Right. So just to say, we're not immune from it. We're still, I like these episodes because they make me take a step back and go, you're right. I do need to do this. I do need to play this way. I do need to stop trying so hard to force my play style and stuff. And that's fine. And we'll figure that out as we go forward. So, and
I guess, if nothing else, like, the big thing is learn how to own your mistakes. Like, just be willing to, like, you know what? I fucked up. Fucked up, and it sucks, but I fucked up, and I'm gonna work on not doing that again. Like, and that wasn't intended to be at you, Adam. That was like, for everybody. Like, just own your mistakes, and then and try to commit them less frequently.
So last minute message for all the AD carry mains out there, because I'm gonna murder someone if this doesn't start changing. If the enemy team this goes into itemization. If the enemy team has a lot of healing, i.e. Vladimir, Maokai, people like that, buy a goddamn Executioner's Calling.
Yeah.
Please! Back in the day when healing reduction was rampantly on AD carry abilities. I loved it when somebody would pick Vlad and Swain or Mundo or something, and then my AD carry would respond by picking like Misfortune or Tristana. It's like, oh, hey, I countered you without really trying.
Yeah. It's like, it's 800 gold.
What, you think
so
I'm going to
easy
spend
to
800 gold on that? Get the fuck out of here. They have Morellos in mid lane.
Oh, do I?
Well, you should. No, I know you play Kennen,
yeah.
so you can't get it.
Yeah. I'll get right on all that mana regen with Kennen.
Yeah. All right, guys. I'm done. That's the podcast for tonight. I don't know about you, but I'm done. Plus my back itches, and I really need to itch it. Hey, patreon.com/TForce Network. Keep supporting us. We really appreciate your support. Really hope you like that podcast. We're going to use it to keep pushing more stuff, new stuff out to you. Patches. They are coming out, okay? They are. I have all the addresses. I have 250 of them finally. I just have to now go. I have to wait for my... I have to do some fucking work because I got to do it all by hand. I need to wait for... I have a shipment of bubble wrap or envelopes coming to me right now that I ordered off Amazon. I have to print out every single address, put it on there, and then I have to drive down to the post office and say, here's 250 envelopes. Let's get these all sent out. And they're going to hate me. But it's going to be great. So that's it, guys. They're coming out. Give me a couple weeks still yet, but they're coming. And if you put a patch in and you're overseas, like I had one guy put one for Scandinavia, I will see what I can do. But legitimately, if it's gonna be like over $15 to get it to you, you might not get it. But at the same time, maybe I'll send it to you anyway because I'm a nice guy. Let's just see how much it costs. But I'm gonna try. I told people to put it down. We'll see what it takes. So anyway, that's it. That's its podcast. Episode 508, not 7, like I said before. See y'all next week. Wednesday.
Later.
Whatever. Peace.
Peace.